Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Tuesday, February 4th. We're going to take a look at Palantir today. So Palantir having a crazy day, up almost 24% by close. And let's take a look at where things are at. Now I'm going to talk about the levels, and then we'll pacify some of the watchers and listeners, and then we'll flip over here to Think or Swim and call it a video. So levels wise, the nearest in level that I have is this potential $100.29 support level. So if it does get down and sort of retest whether or not it's going to dip under that strong psychological $100 level, that's where we may look for it to sort of battle for support, or maybe even kind of lose it and then regain it. That would be the level that I'd be watching. It came within 20 cents or so of that today. You can see here in the 10-minute, dip down here after the market opened, put in a low of $100.51. Yeah, that was the low there during open hours. And so again, we'll see. And it kind of came back into that range, and that's where it built off again. And so far, it hasn't swung back higher. So we'll see if buyers continue to show up in that range or slightly below that range, if it does get a little dippy in the days ahead. Now, I do have a level up above, the next sort of strong-ish resistance level that I would see, 113.77. If it does have the oomph for the gusto to get there, I don't know if it'll be quick, if it'll be slow, or if it'll get there at all. But, I would anticipate, because there's such a huge percentage gap there between 100 and 113, that's probably plenty of opportunity for it to put in significant enough price action to decipher some levels based off of that, like a new price action getting put in. So if that occurs, we can come back and add some things or take some things away and kind of go with the flow that way. If it does get dippy and that 100.29 doesn't hold, I have 95.62, 91.95, 89.38, and 86.81, and that would then suffice. If it got through that level, it would fill the gap that it's left. So the gap would be filled at 84.25. It would get into that gap at $100 and say 50 cents is when it would enter. So obviously potential for a huge loss there if it does come down to fill that gap. You see also there's a gap down here that would again get into it like 46.85. So huge loss there if that were to happen. I just mentioned that because there's the gap hounds out there, and if I don't pacify them, they will just relentlessly talk about gaps and that I didn't mention a gap. Oh no! I wonder if this gap is also not filled. Yeah, so, you got other gaps down here. This is what I say. Well, I won't get into it now, the whole gap debate. But in any case, I was looking at this. If you bought this and held it for like 13 months, you basically could have turned like $6 into $106, just by letting it sit there and being patient for 13 months. That's just in shares. Like, that's pretty wild. So tremendous move. We'll see if it has the chutzpah to hold. Maybe that's a good phrase to coin, chutzpah to hold. But yeah, it's tacking 24% onto a stock that had already moved so crazy is quite tremendous to see. So let's take a look at the EMAs here. Now, there's not going to be a ton to glean other than to see where these levels are. So at some point, right, it'll either drag the 8 EMA and the other short-term EMAs up, because it'll continue to hold or climb or whatever, and it'll drag them up to make contact again, or it'll pull back and make contact with them, or some combo of them. So just to sort of get a sense of where they are, just realize as additional candles get put in, they will move. But the 8 EMA right now is situated around 85, 21, 79, 34 EMA at about 76, and the 183 all the way down in the low 50s for the moment. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. Here's the gap, right? You see the big volume gap there. So that's one thing to be looking at. And there's not a ton, like, this isn't that impressive of a shelf. But it's kind of the best one you have here, right? Around $73 or so, down to 70. But these shelves are obviously the big boys, but they're all the way down in the 20s and the teens. So it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out and where folks gravitate to and where they're placing their buy volume and sell volume, because it's sort of just all over the place at this point and is very outsized to the upside. So we'll see how that plays. Bunch of large scale orders coming in today, so seemingly no willingness to cut back, take any cautious approach, lock in profits. It was like just pouring in large scale orders today, seemingly. Nothing shocking here. Almost 90% total profited shares proportion as of close today, the 4th. So again, you have a ton of people who are probably very profitable, right? You see the huge volume that was bought up here in the 60s and 70s, and those people are now, right, they didn't catch the $6 share, but I mean, percentage-wise, they didn't have to hold that very long to make that money. And so the question that I always have with these things is, like, where's the willingness here, right? Like, who's going to come in and continue buying? Is retail going to come in strong, up over 100? Is the large scale institutions going to come in strong? Obviously the inclusion in the S&P 500 is tremendously helpful. But I wonder sort of where the buying pressure is going to continue to come in, versus folks that are wanting to lock in profit, especially maybe if the markets continue to be a little bit tumultuous. Could that mean that Palantir could have some pretty rickety days ahead? Maybe. Even if it doesn't, if it's like your big winner and you're sort of otherwise on the sidelines or taking a bunch of losses because of uncertainty in the market, do those folks that are the 90-ish% of folks that are profitable, do they come in and just say, let me just get this off the table before I lose it? No. I don't know. That's just a question that I often have. So I thought I would raise it here. I would anticipate, obviously there's been a ton of good news coming in. Interesting that some of these price raises still, it raises its price target to 40, right? I mean, these are all over the place. $40 here from RBC, and then you have this one coming in here at 105, right? And then you have 40. Yeah, oh, that's RBC again. But I mean, it's crazy to me. UBS coming in at 105, RBC coming in at 40. What's going on here? It's like, I don't know. Someone must be missing something along the way with those two things. Just can't quite be right. So we'll see, who sort of wins the analyst battle, if anyone really cares. Potentially not, but it's just, it adds to the wackiness. It's like, oh yeah, of course there'd be a raise to $40, needing to more than halve the share price to get to that, upper echelon by one analyst, and then the other one is priced slightly above where the stock closed today. So yeah, it's silly, but it's funny. Not a ton to talk about here on the Thinkorswim side of things. The biggest thing to me looks like just the success of the TTM squeeze indicator. You had a single trigger candle back here in November and it fired, and then it just took off, right? And then you had a 3 candle trigger here, and then when it fired, you got the brief pullback and then the counter move, and the counter move being the big move. And so, tremendously impressive there. Looked like it was maybe getting a little top heavy up here, and it did, dip a little bit, but nothing that couldn't be overcome and just absolutely bulldozed by the bulls. Bulls doing the bulldozing, as you would anticipate. All right, folks, well, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.